but we will bring that to you when he does it.
Well, it's approaching 2 a.m. Here on the East Coast. Jeff Zeleny, thanks very much. Let's go over to John King. You're taking a closer look at these handful of states that are outstanding that will determine who the next president is.
And you know, we currently have Donald Trump at 247. Pennsylvania would be 20. That would get him to 267. And so you're looking at the math right here, and you're trying to find, with 97% of the vote in, is there some way for Secretary Clinton to make that up? And I'll tell you, Wolf, this is just, you know, you want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and you keep going through here, 100% of the votes counted. You move out here to Allegheny County, 98% of the vote is counted. You're looking for places where, is it possible there could be some miracle comeback, or there's some big pile of votes that we yet to count? You know, this is more populated out here, the suburbs of Philadelphia, but that's, you know, 99%. 98% in Bucks County. Look how close it is. So even if you make up a little bit with what's left, and a lot of times you get to 99% and you don't get to 100 till the next day if there's just one precinct out or one issue somewhere. And so you're looking at that, and I just can't find them. I mean, I've been looking for hours trying to find more votes to see, is there any math out there? And if you go through the Trump vote in these counties, they're most of them at 100%. You might find a couple as you go through. There's one or two we found at 98 earlier when I was going through, but they're all coming in at 100% now. So you assume most of the Trump vote is counted, but guess what? So is most of the Clinton vote. And so you're looking at Pennsylvania.
75,000 votes. That's a lot of votes to overcome at this very late stage.
Exactly, especially where the places you're looking where votes are out. Yes, they're Democratic areas, but like as I said when I was in the suburbs here earlier, 99%. You know, she's winning big, but there's not that many votes left. Over here, she's not winning by as much. It's very close here in Bucks County. So if there are more votes come in, they're likely to be relatively evenly split. You know, if they keep with the trend of the night. When you get to 99%, it's hard to see something come in late that's going to defy what you've been seeing for the rest of the night. Happens sometimes, but it's less likely to happen. So you're looking at Pennsylvania. If you're in the Clinton war room, again, they're calling all their people all around the state, and they're not there to be found. That doesn't mean. Yeah, maybe they're fine.
Doesn't look good for her there. Let's take a look at Michigan.
You come to Michigan here, you're in the same boat here, except we have more votes out. 14% of the vote yet to be counted. But again, you've got a pretty healthy lead there. Modest lead, but a healthy lead, and it's been stubborn and persistent. So let's just start. Earlier tonight, I told you if this was going to happen, the most likely source of it was here, Detroit, Wayne County. Well, we're up to 96% now in Wayne County. Yes, a very big, healthy lead for Hillary Clinton when it comes to the percentages, but no more votes. Oakland County, no more votes. Genesee County, last time you were here, was a little above 47%, I think it was last time. Now they're up to 84%. And again, those are votes for Secretary Clinton. But, you know, even if she gets another 5,000 or 8,000 more out of there, it doesn't match up when you come to this. So it's getting very hard to find these votes. And let's just go next over to Wisconsin. We're in the same boat here. We're at 90% now. That's even
85,000 vote lead that Trump has.
It's a healthier lead there. So you're looking. Milwaukee's now up to 99%. This would have been your biggest chance to get votes, and we went from 87 to 99, and she made up a tiny bit, but not enough. The Clinton campaign has been telling us throughout the night, watch Dane County. Now, there are still 16% of the vote out here. It is conceivable when you get that, 16% of the precinct, so you could get a giant stack of votes, and she's winning this one overwhelmingly. So if you're looking at this map, you're thinking, okay, there it is, but you're placing a giant bet on one county, essentially, because when you go through the rest of this, most of it's in. 91% here, but again, look at the percentage of the population. You're talking about much fewer votes here. So if you're in the Clinton campaign war room, you're hoping against hope, you're hoping against math, really, at the moment, in the sense that when you pull back out here, with Donald Trump at 247, Hillary Clinton has to block him. She's leading in New Hampshire right now. But Donald Trump, if he gets two of those three, it's game over.
It's over. Let's go to Jim Acosta. He's over at Trump headquarters at the New York Hilton Hotel. What are you seeing over there, Jim? What are you hearing?
Yeah, Wolf, I just talked to a senior Trump advisor just a few moments ago who said that if Donald Trump is declared the winner, and they do believe that is going to happen very, very soon, that he will deliver a speech that calls on the country to come together. He will obviously talk about this as being a very big upset win, that he's going to praise the movement that brought him to the White House. That is, of course, if everything goes the way it seems to be going right now. But, Wolf, as for this issue of bringing the country together, you can just hear the chants behind me. The crowd here at Trump campaign headquarters is chanting "Lock her up" once again. Obviously, it's going to be very difficult for Donald Trump to bring the country together, given that kind of rhetoric, the rhetoric that he's used out on the campaign trail, talking about Mexican immigrants, talking about Muslims immigrating into the United States, talking about women, the kind of language that just infuriated female voters. But Wolf, I'm also told that this work of building a Trump administration has been actually happening as part of this transition team that was being led by New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions, who is expected to be an instrumental part of an potentially upcoming Trump administration. He is here on the floor tonight. Just saw him here a few moments ago. So, Wolf, they're very excited here. They're breaking out into chants of all sorts of things that we've heard out on the campaign trail. There are lots of red hats in this room. I suspect we're going to be seeing a lot of those red hats in the days and weeks to come, Wolf.
I suspect we're going to be hearing a lot more about making America great again. Anderson, over to you.
Well, thanks very much. Jeffrey Lord, Corey, in terms of, we heard that chant, lock her up. I mean, is that something you think Donald Trump pursues as president of the United States? Or, again, for the idea of reaching out, of sort of being presidential?
I'm sure, you can do both here. I mean, number one, you can make the gracious concession, acceptance speech and reach out, et cetera. But number two, she really does have some serious problems here. I mean, I seem to recall Senator Al Franken telling, I think it was Jake the other day, that he wants, as a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, he wants an investigation of the FBI.
Sorry, here's John Podesta. Let's listen in at the Hillary Clinton event.
Thank you. Well, folks, I know you've been here a long time, and it's been a long night, and it's been a long campaign. But I could say we can wait a little longer, can't we? They're still counting votes, and every vote should count. Several states are too close to call, so we're not going to have anything more to say tonight. So listen to me. Everybody should head home. You should get some sleep. We'll have more to say tomorrow. I want you to know, I want every person in this hall to know, and I want every person across the country who supported Hillary to know that your voices and your enthusiasm means so much to her and to Tim and to all of us. We are so proud of you. And we are so proud of her. She's done an amazing job, and she is not done yet. So thank you for being with her. She has always been with you. I have to say this tonight. Good night. We will be back. We'll have more to say. Let's get those votes counted, and let's bring this home. Thank you so much for all of you have done. You are in all of our hearts. Thank you.
John Podesta speaking to a group of Hillary Clinton supporters at what was, in the opinion of many of the people in that room, supposed to be a victory party for Hillary Clinton. Certainly does not to be turning out that way. Does it surprise you that we're not going to be hearing from Hillary Clinton tonight?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can see wanting to wait and see what happens. I don't know what her state of mind is right now, and they don't know how long it'll be before.
Do you think Donald Trump still comes out if it starts to get called by networks?
I suspect if the media organizations call it, that he may speak tonight. I would ask the Secretary of State and the Attorney General.
Supreme Court Justice, if you didn't see the interview, thank you very much.
Do you think Trump would come out?
First and foremost, Hillary Clinton is going to lose tonight. She should call Donald Trump immediately and say, you've run a great race, thank you very much. Secondly, she owes it to the American people to make a speech. If this was Donald Trump sending out the chairman of his campaign saying, we're not going to address this tonight because all the votes aren't counted. It's, 2 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. We have 99.9% of these ballots counted. We're waiting for a small fraction in Pennsylvania, a small fraction in Wisconsin, which will not materially change the outcome of this election. I think this is, exactly to Van's point, not bringing the country together. This is saying you will hear something moving forward, but it won't be from us. And look, John Podesta could have just emailed everyone yesterday, and we would have got this from WikiLeaks, as opposed to just coming out tonight and doing this. This is absurd.
I don't think Van thinks you were making exactly his point.
This is so egregious that if this was Donald Trump, the hypocrisy would be so outrageous that, you know what someone in this panel would call him? The George Costanza of this election. That's what he would be called right now.
Corey.
You won. So where is the conciliatory note to say, I want my people to support one president? Where's that message?
It's got to start with you, man.
No, it has to start with the president
Hold on a
who
second.
ran. It has to start with Hillary Clinton, who ran.
look.
I didn't run for president. John Podesta didn't run for president.
See, this is the fear. Here it is. You see it. You won.
Say it again. I didn't hear you.
You won.
That's right. And Hillary Clinton should say that to the American people and say, support Donald Trump because he's one president.
This is it. Let me finish. I'm not done. I'm not done. Look, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. She'll talk in the morning.
Will she?
Let him finish.
Corey, you're being a horrible person right now. Let me finish.
If this was Donald Trump, the hypocrisy would be so outrageous right now.
I want every parent at home.
At 2 o'clock in the morning.
I want every parent at home who's up right now, who's trying to figure out, who are up right now, trying to figure out how are we going to get through this, right? Where's the grace going to come from? Where's the understanding? Where's the empathy going to come from? It's going to have to come from ordinary people. Tomorrow at work, when we go and look at people who we don't agree with, this can't be the interaction. It's going to have to be ordinary people reaching out to each other. I'm going to say one more thing before I let a smarter person talk about smarter things. When they were beating up on Melania Trump this past week, I stuck up for her because I thought it was inhuman and disgusting for somebody who never signed up to be a political wife to go out there and do her best and actually ask for the bullying to stop and then be bullied herself. Because you got to treat people like human beings. Tonight, Hillary Clinton's a human being. I think we give her a break, let her come out tomorrow and do a good job. And I'm telling you what, if we can't begin to treat each other in a more human way, this thing is going to go from bad to horrible.
Hold on.
Ron is just joining us.
Yeah, let me to bring up Melania Trump, who I happen to know and respect immensely. I heard so many people sit on this network.
Not me.
And criticize, not you, you're right. So many people criticized her for saying that her priority was going to be anti-bullying because of what her husband has said on Twitter. Criticized her. Multiple people, all the time. And tonight, to say that one of two people who's going to be elected president of the United States is not going to come out and say we should unite behind the person who is the... No, excuse me, you had your chance. It's not my turn.
You're saying the same thing 4 times in a row.
No, what Van is saying is we have to get the respect from the people at home to come out and support Donald Trump. No. They put their faith in Hillary Clinton. And she received tens of millions of votes today and won a series of states. And she's the leader of the Democratic Party. And for her not to walk... Is it too late?
Yeah.
We're saying she should definitely come out
and say support Donald Trump.
I think, look, as we've just seen, this is an election that has deeply, deeply divided the country. I mean, the polling, we'll probably get the polling overnight, but the polling going in was that 90% of Clinton voters were strongly unfavorable to Trump. 90% of Trump voters were strongly unfavorable to Clinton. It is still entirely possible that Hillary Clinton will win the popular vote, given the West Coast states of California, Washington, and Oregon, and Donald Trump will win the presidency by dominating in the Rust Belt. But the divisions in the country, the urban, non-urban, he won working-class white voters, non-college white voters, by more than Ronald Reagan did. But the gap between the way they voted and the way the college-educated white voters was the biggest ever. So there are a lot of divides that are left after this election, and it is going, I agree. I think Hillary Clinton, if she is, and it looks like a very kind of thin, road, if she is the loser, she has to make a gesture to reach out. And I think what Donald Trump does as well, you've got to recognize that we are in a very unique situation where essentially half the country is not only disappointed, they are frightened by the outcome either way. And that is just under half the country. And that is a big development going forward.
Do you know how many times we heard, will Donald Trump concede this race? Will he call into question? Right. You know what we're seeing tonight? We're seeing Hillary Clinton, who refuses to concede. She has lost this election. Whether it has been called or not, the race is over. And we heard for weeks that Donald Trump will call into question the legitimacy of this election. He will not concede. What will his people do? Will there be an outrage? Where is the outrage tonight that Hillary Clinton refuses to call and concede the election? The race is over.
I mean, this is such a basic thing to do. And Van, to your point, and you certainly don't remember this, I do, in one of Nixon's losing races, either for president or governor of California, he did exactly some version of this and waited until the next day and wouldn't do it. And you know what they said? He's got no class. I remember this vividly. And here we are, and Hillary Clinton does this, and everybody says, oh, well, maybe she's tired. I don't think so.
Guys, the race hasn't even been called yet.
Well,
It hasn't
then
even
stay
been
up
called
and
yet.
wait for it to be called.
Well, you're running for leader
The
of
fact,
the
the fact
free
of the
world.
matter is, what gone to the races, John
One at a time, one at a time.
John
Let
Kerry
David-
conceded on the day after the election. This is not that extraordinary. But I think the advice that Van was trying to give you is good advice, and I'm just giving it to you as someone who's been on the winning side of elections, which is you can either use this as an occasion to sort of strut and pay for strutting and payback, or you rise to the occasion and say, we have now won, we've got to bring the country together. And since you are the leader, if your guy's going to be the leader of the country and really the leader of the free world, then there's an onus on him to do that. And the fact that his opponent is waiting for the votes to be counted shouldn't be the occasion for you to replay everything that bothers you about what's been said over the course of the campaign. You've won, so act like you've won.
I think Donald Trump is going to go on tonight. I think he's waiting for Hillary Clinton to call him and concede this race. And then he's going to make a very gracious speech which says, I want to be the president of the entire United States. I want to bring everyone together. I don't think it's outrageous for him to wait.
Has argued, I don't think anybody here tonight has argued that he should not come out and he should not deliver that
Well,
kind
if we don't
of
have
speech.
the election results, why would he come out?
But my assumption would be he would wait till somebody calls it and then come out, and so he could have
Whether she calls him or not.
Yeah, whether she calls him or not, and then maybe it makes her look even worse. But he at least gets his due tonight, which is certainly well deserved given
That's
the
what I was
incredible
going to say.
victory.
It's not as if because she's gone home, this process is about to end. This process is continuing as we speak, and when the race gets declared, I think it's entirely appropriate.
But I do think, to Corey's point, I mean, I think Corey raised an interesting point. There was a lot of criticism of Donald Trump.
Yes.
What would he do on election night if the roles were reversed and Donald Trump wasn't, conceding tonight?
No. The question was, he was asked whether he would accept the result of the election, and he wouldn't say. There's no indication here that she's not going to accept the result of the election. The result of the election hasn't been officially declared yet. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
And if the roles were reversed, and you might not know the answer to this, would Donald Trump want to wait for every vote to be counted?
I think he respects
All
Probably.
I'm saying is this goes to one of the things that drove this entire election is this belief, this passionate belief that there is a double standard, one standard for elites and the other standard for the regular folks. Donald Trump being the representative of the regular folks here. And to Corey's
Jeffrey,
point,
I think
exactly. If this were reversed, you can only imagine the criticism that Donald Trump would have if he had sent Kellyanne out there to say, go home and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Jeffrey, you're right, but the difference isn't just that your guy is the blue-collar billionaire and Hillary Clinton's the elite. The difference would be that your guy said he wasn't sure if he would accept it. And she has never said that. And so that's why you are correct. If Donald Trump were being hesitant, it would trigger those old memories. But she didn't go down the road your guy went down, and that's why she would be treated
but the fact is, even if Donald Trump hadn't come out, as Gloria, I think, was pointing out, Hillary Clinton would have come out. I mean, he can still come out and say, I've won once that verdict is kind of, reached by the networks, by all of us.
Why is it so much about the timing? I understand it. But it's also about what they say. And that's, I think, was your point. And I think Hillary Clinton needs to be gracious about the stunning victory that Donald Trump has had. Number one, he won. And he reset the map. He blew it up. His supporters came out where we didn't think they were. Polling was wrong. We were wrong. Everything was wrong. I mean, his own analytics people had him winning in Wisconsin, but they didn't believe their own analytics. That's how stunning this was.
I think back to the end of the second debate, and the last question that was asked by somebody in the audience, which was say something nice about the other person.
Right.
Hillary Clinton said, "You're Donald Trump's kid,"
Good day.
which is, that's an easy one. I thought his answer I thought it was a great answer, but I also thought it really showed kind of the charm of Donald Trump that his supporters see and like, and that people who know him well say they see one-on-one and see in meetings and know socially, which was him saying something which, he attacked her in campaign commercials for, but said, she doesn't give up. She's got grit. And I thought that answer, I was like, wow, that's a side of Donald Trump that is something that everybody can kind of like. And I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of that Donald Trump in whatever speech he makes
That
tonight.
may be what you're seeing tonight with her. She's not giving up till the last vote is counted.
Can I mean, unless we want to beat this around a while longer, but I don't want to invite you to do it. Let me just say this. You said earlier, and I think you're right, that part of the frustration that people were expressing tonight.
By the way, this is Donald Trump arriving at campaign headquarters, where we believe he will be speaking. You can hear the response. Let's just listen in some of the votes of the people outside the street, cheering him there. And that's a hat in a box that has been there. I'm guessing he's going to take it out of the box. I don't know. But that is Donald Trump arriving. We assume he will be speaking tonight. Sorry, but continue, David.
No, what I was going to say is Corey said earlier, and he's right, that people have heard Bill Clinton ran for president, and he wanted to run for the forgotten middle class, and every president subsequently has said we're going to address some of these big economic problems that our economy and other economies have faced that have particularly been visited upon working class manufacturing sector workers and so on. Donald Trump ran for. You said Donald Trump ran for office, speaking the truth. He's going to have to now carry through on those things. That's going to be very difficult. And if he doesn't, he's going to have the same reaction visited on him that other politicians.
We just saw Chris Christie. We also saw former Mayor Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump's entourage, his supporters, his family heading. I haven't gotten a glimpse of the candidate himself, but we anticipate seeing him shortly. There's a lot of folks waiting. What started out, it was really interesting when you think back to 5 o'clock this afternoon, 6 o'clock. Kellyanne Conway earlier in the day on another network had given an interview sort of saying that they hadn't gotten as much support from the RNC, from Republican establishment as they liked. A lot of people online kind of interpret that as, well, they're trying to set the stage for a disappointing night. That is certainly not, whatever the mood might have been internally early on, it is certainly
Anderson, it's
completely
beyond
changed.
that. There was a story that broke many moons ago, the afternoon yesterday, that said that John Kasich had scheduled a speech Thursday afternoon in Washington, and that the purpose was to reclaim the direction of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
I assume he won't be delivering at least that speech on Thursday.
I mean, he didn't need the RNC. He didn't need Kasich. He didn't need any of those folks who abandoned him in some ways, the Bush family. You saw Paul Ryan sort of flip-flop on him, seeming to, back him, then saying he wouldn't, but then ultimately endorsing him. You wonder what happens to Paul Ryan. You wonder what happens to that whole class of folks who thought they were going to be the future of the Republican Party.
Because they are all still here. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, this was an incredible uprising by, in particular, one segment of the population. There's a couple numbers. Hillary Clinton's vote among non-college whites compared to Barack Obama, down 13 in Michigan, 8 in Pennsylvania, 10 in Wisconsin, 12 in New Hampshire, 6 in Florida, 5 in Ohio. Nationally, only 28%, less than Walter Mondale got against Ronald Reagan. He had a bigger margin among non-college whites than Reagan did against Mondale. But that included an agenda that a lot of those people you just mentioned really are not part of on any point. Right. Backing away from trade, very restrictive on immigration, no cuts in entitlements, an infrastructure program twice as big, he said, as Hillary Clinton's. I asked Paul Ryan about that at a forum we did a couple weeks ago. He said, that's not in the Better Way program. I mean, so and there is Tom Donahue and the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, there are many aspects of the Trump agenda that are fine, that overlap with what Republicans want to do. Repeal Obamacare, cut regulation, cut taxes. But there's a whole other half, and maybe the more important half in terms of building the coalition that won, that really collides with a lot of the existing interests in the party, and how that shakes out. I asked a Republican senator this summer at the convention, how many Republican senators would go along with Donald Trump if he wants to withdraw from NAFTA? And he said less than 5. But yet, that is an important part of what happened in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania.
I think you're going to.
How does that play out?
I think you're going to see the Better Get Out of the Way program now.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
I think that's going to change because a lot of these guys owe their reelection now to Donald Trump. When you think about it, he got one newspaper endorsement? Is that right? He had a terrible video that came out. He divided the Republican Party, and there was this uprising, as you put it, a revolution of the people, no matter what all of these things were, because there were people who feel disenfranchised And they wanted to change election, and he gave them change. So Congress, if he has control of both houses, and it looks like he might, if he has control of both houses, the message is going to be to incumbents that the voters wanted change.
That's right. That's right. What?
I was going to say, it's not just the Republicans. I will ensure you Donald Trump won in Democrat House districts across this country tonight.
Right.
And what that means for those incumbents is we better listen if we have a president who has set an agenda and won in a district where they weren't supposed to win.
Exactly
so as Donald Trump is going and talking about what his agenda is for the American people, you won't just see Republicans as part of that. He will build a broad coalition, as he always does when he tries to get something done. And he will go to those Democrats and he will say, this is what happened in Michigan. This is what happened in Pennsylvania. This is what happened in Ohio. And if you want to get reelected and you don't want me campaigning against you in those districts where I won overwhelmingly,
he won't have to do that,
let's get our agenda
Corey,
done.
I'm going to tell you right now, for the left wing of our party, if he wants to do something on trade, he won't have to threaten anybody because you got the left wing of the Democratic Party is closer to him than on trade. I know you've been trying to get in. I want to talk after you.
Well, all I'm trying to say here is I think that the period after Reagan left office until tonight, the Republican establishment came back into their own, and they took control of this party. And from my perspective, as nice as so many of these people are on a personal level, they steered the party off the tracks. They could not understand for the life of them why they couldn't get Mitt Romney elected. I mean, they assured everybody, well, he's the guy. This is what's going to happen. He'll win. Ditto John McCain. I mean, this was their mentality here. And they have finally been stopped in their tracks by Donald Trump, who is going to rewrite this whole script here. Because they
So what happens to all those people that you named? How is he going to deal with John McCain and these others?
The same way Ronald Reagan dealt with it. That you mount the political troops to get their support, or you go around them.
Jeffrey, will it matter in terms of his leverage if he doesn't win the popular vote? If he loses the national popular vote?
The president of the United States is the president of the United States.
But in terms of claiming the mandate and influencing people who may not want to vote for him.
George W. Bush
suffered.
Had those, lost the popular vote. Right. He was a pretty powerful president.
Let me make a criticism.
Faced a lot of polarization.
Let me make a criticism of the Democrats, though, because you're criticizing your party. Let me just make a few observations. People are saying, what happened with the Latino vote? You start talking to people. There was not actually a big investment. A lot of the Latino organizations, you talk to Voto Latino and other groups, they felt like there actually was not a big enough investment in them. You can find complaints, going back several months saying, listen, we have people who want to sign up, who want to be registered to vote. Some of those efforts actually ran out of money before they ran out of voters because there was an assumption that the Latino community was going to be able to kind of self-organize and do stuff. You're going to go back, you're going to see that there are certain parts of this coalition that are going to have a lot to say about feeling taken for granted, not invested in properly, et cetera. And I think that those are the kinds of things that we're going to have to go back and talk about as
So do you think it was a failure of organization or a failure of the candidate?
I think that for this Latino surge that materialized but only barely could have been much bigger if there had been money from the very beginning saying we're going to have to invest and build real capacity in the Latino community. You're going to go back and look and talk to people on the ground in Nevada, in Colorado, in Florida, and the great online organizers like Voto Latino. Ask them how much money they got. Ask them how much support they got. They're going to tell you very, very little.
You also wonder what Joe Biden is thinking tonight. I mean, as he looks at this, as he looks at the results in Scranton.
He looks at Scranton.
Right.
And also a next generation of Democrats. What are they thinking tonight? Maybe, Van, you can talk about that.
Is there a next generation?
Is there a next generation of Democrats? Because everybody was banking on
party identification and affiliation is at an all-time low in the modern era. I think so many individuals voted today without any regard for their identification by party. Instead, it was a vote that they were making along class lines, along income lines.
There's one star. There's one star who hasn't been talked about tonight who is going to be talked about a lot. And her name is Kamala Harris. She just became the senator from, I would imagine, or she hasn't been declared. She will be declared the senator. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get in no trouble, but I bet that she will get declared the senator.
She might be declared.
She might get declared the senator from California. She is sharp as a whip. She is smart as a tack. She is an amazing force on her own. And she's going to wind up being a big deal.
The question, Ron, the question for you is, do you think that this is given as disruptive a force as this, as Donald Trump has been, is there an opportunity for a realignment? Is there an independent or third-party candidate?
I don't know, but we've been heading. Look, Trump accelerated the trends that we had. I mean, I wrote today. I thought that the nightmare scenario for Clinton was that Trump batters down her defenses in the Rust Belt before they have advanced far enough in the Sun Belt to replace those losses. I mean, so basically they were caught in between. They didn't get far enough there wasn't like a counter mobilization enough among minority voters, although the Latino thing will be disputed about whether they as well as right. In particular, yes, she did better than President Obama did among college whites, but not nearly as well as the polling suggested. She was up 3 relative to President Obama among college whites, down, what was it among non-college whites, down 8. I mean, that's sort of the story. And, you know, it